What's going on, football fans? It's me, J.R. Clark, back again with another Pound for Pound ATL Live. Joined as always by my main men, Jonathan Holder and Toby D. Toby, how you doing tonight, sir?
Man, I'm great. The Falcons tied the game 13-13, which means we haven't lost.
There you go. There it is. Jonathan,
For
what's
what
up,
it's
brother?
worth.
We were kissing cousins on Thursday on Friday, but it is what it is, and it was a really good end of game drive by Woodside, and yeah, it's been a really good time since then, and been a really good day so far. So I'm looking forward to talking some more about it.
Yeah, so I guess without much further ado, we might as well just go ahead and get into it. So, as we alluded to, we played the Bengals on this past Friday. For any of y'all that decided to sit down and join us, as we talked about, as we watched the game live, it was a fun game to watch. The
Yeah,
first team offense came out and did its thing and looked like pretty explosive, which we'll get into more in detail. Obviously, it ended with a tip drill type interception, which if any of y'all like watch the QB School JT O'Sullivan on YouTube. He does a really good breakdown of
yep.
Ritter's drive and some of the play structures and stuff like that. I highly recommend y'all go check that out because it was well worth your time because he does a real good job of explaining like where that ball should have gone or in his mind where it could have gone on that interception. So I think that it, like I said, I put it up on Twitter that it's well worth anybody's time to
It,
go check that out.
yeah, it's like 15 minutes, and it goes by pretty quickly. He goes over probably what, like five, maybe six plays.
Yeah, he
Um,
goes through the first couple pass plays. Um, he makes a real good reference on that. It ended up being a run, but like a Ritter scramble, but that little mesh play, that
yep,
mesh variant, for all those people who feel like Arthur Smith isn't innovative or isn't creative, like him and Dave Ragone. Um, that's a variation that even like not just him either. Nate Tice, who does a lot of breakdowns for the Athletics on Twitter, is a I know he's part of the Athletic podcast with Robert Mays,
hmm
so he's no slouch about his knowledge of football. Also commented on the variation of that mesh that they had never seen before and would probably be showing up, with other teams. So it's always cool and interesting to hear and read that kind of stuff, especially from people who know what they're talking about.
Yeah, played the
yeah, well,
game.
and so Nick here is like London was open on the scramble, and I like when I first watched the game and I saw the replay during the game, I thought the same thing. I even on a rewatch, like my own personal rewatch, like not with anybody else, just I'm sitting there watching it, I'm trying to pick out some different things. I didn't necessarily think any different than Nick did. And he was open. The problem is like literally just as he's coming open, the pressure was getting to him
Yeah,
from the right side, so he had to like he had to dip under that to then get out to the right. And by the time he if he'd have tried to dip under that and then make the throw, it would have been too late.
right.
And could he have squeezed it in? Maybe. But then you run into potentially the same situation that you run into on a few plays later when the interception happens, when people are like, you can't make that kind of decision in the red zone. If it's not there, you throw it out of bounds.
Right.
All this other stuff. So he was open, yes, but the timing of him coming open was right as the pressure was getting there enough to where he had to move. He had to get
Right.
out of there.
Toby, you were about to say something.
He'll get that opportunity again. I mean, one of the things we got to remember, Ritter them didn't get to play a whole quarter.
Right.
And one of the things I've learned about Ritter from last year is that when you saw him in the preseason, he's run that play again. He's made the play.
Right.
I specifically think about the Detroit Lions game when he got blitzed the first time and he couldn't get the ball off. He threw the ball errantly. But the second time that same blitz came, he recognized it and he was able to make the play, which thus led to the touchdown to Bernhardt.
Right.
So he's a guy that he got to get the reps and see the play again, and because he'll get a chance to make that play again if it should come about in the regular season. So I'm not really tripping about the interception tip up or anything like that, because yeah, he'll get that opportunity even with the scramble. Next time he'll see that play and he'll either have a two-way go to run the scramble if he needs to, or if he can give himself enough time to see who gets open on that same play, he'll do it again. So I'm not really too much tripping about that.
I'm not there. There isn't much on that first drive, like offensively, that I'm really tripping about. To be completely
Yeah.
honest, I mean, I said it. You know, I said it during the broadcast that we had. I said it on Saturday at our meetup. My only like somewhat of a complaint is, and this has always been like Ritter's MO from his time in college. Hopefully he can fix it. If not, we got the guys to make it work anyway. But he just needs to get better about putting the ball on the front shoulder versus the back shoulder. You had, Pitts make a real nice, one-handed grab, and even, Sullivan, pointed out not great placement, not a bad ball, just not great placement. You put that out in front of Pitts, he might be able to make that guy coming downhill miss, and for a bigger gain. Now, here's where, and the same deal with Robinson on that little swing pass he had with Robinson's one-handed catch. Again, a little bit behind him. But here's where experience with the quarterback will also help, because you saw the same type of pass to London. London used the backside throw to his advantage in that little, like from the slot. He grabbed that backside and turned back the opposite way and was able to make some yardage.
Well, that play, I think he specifically, like, he saw the guys behind London. He saw what was like further to the right. And I think he purposely tried to throw the ball behind. I'm not saying he was perfectly accurate with the ball, but I think the intent was to slow him down so that he didn't run right into the defense. And it gave him a chance to slow down, spin, turn upfield, get a view of what's going on, and make his way upfield.
Right.
So I think that particular play was, because we see Matt Ryan do that all the time with his receivers. And you see quarterbacks around the league do it all the time, where we initially look at it and you say, "Oh, like that pass was behind him." Well, he put it on his back shoulder, or just slightly behind him to make him stop or make him slow down, so that either he doesn't go head on into a bad hit or something along those lines.
So I'm glad you brought that up, Jonathan, because that's just where I was getting ready to go. So if you remember week 2, 2021, when Pitts first got into the league, that second game against Tampa Bay Buccaneers, guess what? Matt Ryan threw that same play to Kyle Pitts, and Kyle Pitts caught it just like he did in this game, and he ran up the field for a gain. So I don't think initially it was something that was done going behind him. I think it's something that this is one of the things I credit with Ritter doing, because for him to make that same similar type throw that Matt Ryan made to Kyle Pitts back in 2021 in that week 2 game, that tells me already that this guy is a studier of film, and he's already learning what his receivers could do, why he trusted him to be able to make that play, because he's seen him already make that play before. So that to me leads me into knowing that he's a guy that watches the film and studies what he's got going on. And that's another reason why I feel good about what happened in his game in that first drive, because I saw some things where I could see Ritter's going to have some success. One of the things I love about Mac Hollins, if y'all was really paying attention to a lot of the routes that he was running, it was more like fullback and tight end routes. So they have a guy I don't really necessarily look at as a wide receiver, but a guy that can also run those routes like a fullback with the out routes, the zero routes and stuff like that. So you got a guy that can cheat you on first downs, being able to run those types of routes. And I think we're going to see Mac Hollins have success on a lot of those out routes a lot,
Yeah, I know.
especially when other guys are defended.
No, I 100%. I want to get into Matt Collins because I absolutely love what I saw out of him. But we need to get to Willie Doc here, which we appreciate greatly. He says, ready this week. Baller Bijan follow the team's mental state for dumb penalties. Honorable mentions, coaching staff on offense and defense looking good. Yeah, we're gonna get into ballers and followers here in a minute, and see just how good Willie Doc is. On that pass to Pitts that I was talking about, looked like it was behind him. I have some handful of people are saying that the coach said that ball was tipped. I'd have to go back and look at it. I must have missed that. Because Nighthawk is saying, I thought the coach said the ball was tipped on the pass to Pitts.
I've seen a bunch of other people on Twitter saying the same thing. I've tried to go back and watch it, but unfortunately we don't have the all 22.
Yeah, being here in Atlanta, we don't, whatever. Yeah. But either way, Nathaniel Peak says the ball was tipped. The coach said so in the video. Okay, so if the ball was tipped, then I'll give even more credit to Pitts for making a play on the ball and being able to make the play. Mr. CDX for Life says he's checking in from Long Island. What's up, dude?
Ooh, what up, man?
Island.
That's what I'm talking about. I always love to see where people are checking in from.
Hold on.
What are you doing over there?
I just want to say hi to John.
That's right.
Man? Family.
That's it. He says, evening bros, evening chat. Great to see you guys again, JR. Meeting Toby and Jonathan in person Saturday. We got some great group of folks, man. Yes, we do. We had our Falcons content creator meetup on Saturday, which we'll get into here in a little bit, but that was a good time. And like I said, we'll dive into that a little further. But without much further ado, let's go ahead and get into everybody's favorite segment of the show, Ballers and Follows. I need to move this banner because it covers up Toby. Bam. Okay.
Oh, you good.
Well, can't cover you up, my man. Anyway, all right. So, Ballers and Followers. Willie Doc alluded to Bijan, and I think all three of us agreed that Bijan was definitely one of the ballers. So, we got Bijan Robinson and Andre Smith. Now, Bijan Robinson, like right off the rip, when he was given the ball, and the first carry for 12 yards, and in that 12 yards, he looked slippery, looked shifty, made people miss. I mean, you saw everything you wanted in that first 12-yard run.
Yep.
And it was awesome. It was awesome to see,
Yeah. I mean, and if he is able to make one other guy miss or slither out of that tackle, he was gone. But yeah, he showed the vision. He showed the burst. He showed that once he got through the hole and there was another guy coming in for the tackle, that move that he put on that guy was unreal.
Oh yeah.
And then he showed everything. And then later on when he catches that pass, that one-handed pass behind him, again, I think that just shows his versatility.
Yep.
It shows how good of a pass catcher he is. And he made another guy miss there. So it's really hard for that first guy to bring him down.
And the part that may not even get brought up or even talked about much is he also had at least one rep I can distinctly remember. I want to say it was more than one, but don't quote me. Where he stood in. You know exactly where I was going because it don't get talked about. But that joker stood in there on pass protection and stonewalled one-on-one with the rusher and met him right in his face and kept him from getting to Des.
Yeah.
Those are the things that are going to get him on the field more consistently and not just in your traditional ways and everything. Bijan looked like what you wanted and out of a player. Now Andre Smith, who knows if he's going to end up making the team? Or the depth at linebacker is a little worrisome. Our buddy Dez says, "Hey, yo, what's up, fellas? Good to see Toby." He says, questions. What do you guys really think about our linebacker and wide receiver depth overall? I'm feeling this team. I bring this up in here now because we cut Michael Walker, and so that made what was already a thin group a little thinner. But then you have a guy like Andre Smith who steps up and shows well
Yeah.
against the Bengals
Yeah.
when he got in there.
Well, I mean, I think from a linebacker room perspective, you know, Troy Anderson, Caden Ellis, as of right now, those are your starting
Those are your guys. Yep.
those are your starting linebackers. I mean, Tay Davis is a guy that has looked pretty good for the most part. You know, he's had some lapses here and there, but for the most part, he's looked pretty good. Mike Jones,
Who?
exactly. But he's looked pretty good.
Yep.
Andre Smith Jr. Now, I didn't see him I didn't see him or I didn't notice him. I didn't see him. I may have seen him, but I didn't think about it. But I didn't necessarily notice him in game 1. Game 2, dude stood out. Made some really nice plays.
Right.
And so you get those guys, and then Nate Landman has shown really, really well.
Yeah, I think Landman's your 3. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
Like, you know, confidently, I think Landman's your 3. Like Dre Murphy says here, it's going to be between Andre Smith and Mike Jones for that last, or potential last spot.
Well, yeah, Tay Davis is 4.
You think Tay Davis is 4?
Because he's been working with the ones on special teams.
True. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, Tay Davis is probably your 4. So if they carry 5, it's going to come between Andre and Mike Jones. John Yates, out of your Falcon mind, Pulse says, looked like Caden was calling the defense as well. Yes, it looked like Caden was your Mike.
Which would make sense for him because he knows the defense.
Right. Exactly. And it didn't seem to hinder him in shooting the gap and coming downhill.
Oh,
on that first play, boy, he shot it.
He shot it.
Right. Yep. He met the back in the backfield and looked good doing it.
Yeah,
all right. So on to our follows, which probably isn't going to shock too many people. Honorary mention the refs. I could have thrown them on there with the amount of flags they threw. That was a little ridiculous, saying a good bit of them were ticky-tack in my opinion. But we're going with our good buddy Jalen Mayfield and our other buddy Scotty Miller. Mayfield more so. Like after this game, this whole week of practice, he's been running with the 3s.
Yeah. So, I think he got in with the 2s a little bit today because
because of Dahlman and Lindstrom being they tried him out at left tackle in the game. Yep. Did not look good. Like at least when he was in there against Miami, his run blocking looked good, even if his pass blocking didn't. This past game, none of it really looked all that good, to be honest. So, yeah, he's on thin ice. The only thing keeping him on the roster right now is just a rookie contract, in my opinion, because, like, to me, he got outplayed by Vrabel.
I was going to say that too. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, what, Toby? You got anything else you want to add, like, on as far as Mayfield is concerned?
It's time to cut your losses.
I think so.
I think he's damaged goods. I think he got really affected. He got really affected in his rookie season, and I don't think he's been able to rebound from that.
No, yeah, I agree. I don't think he's been able to bounce back from being, thrown to the wolves in 21. He's never been able to regain his confidence, and it just doesn't look like it's going to click, at least not here. Now, the next thing I want to talk about, like, a little bit is, Scotty Miller. Like, outside of his speed, which you can obviously see and feel, like, he up to this point, he hasn't made a huge impression. Now, a lot of people feel like he's safe on the roster, and he may be, as that 4th, 5th option, what have you. But, the miscommunication with the pick, I'm not necessarily blaming Scotty, but the way, like, especially if you watch Sullivan's breakdown, the way he took that route was not a normal way. You know,
So
or unless I just misheard it. So
yeah, so the way he said that there were two different ways that you can run that particular route. One, and the one he prefers, like his own personal preference for it, is you run that out and then you come straight across the field, so that you keep your distance from that DB.
right,
Right.
you run it and then cut it.
Yeah, cut it straight back
Right.
across the field. But there are, some, it just depends on the different teams, different offenses, different schemes, different whatever. But there are, the kind of route that he ran is legitimate. It's a legit route. It's just whether or not it was supposed to be that kind of route based on where the ball was going. He may not have been supposed to. It may have been a stop, like go out and then stop. I don't know. Because it seemed like as soon as he started to head back inside, like the ball came to his back shoulder. Now it could be that Ritter was just off.
Right.
It could be that he was supposed to, run it a little bit differently. Who knows? But like the kind of route that he ran, based on what I heard from JT O'Sullivan's video, is that route is a legit route to run.
Yeah.
It just varies from team to team.
Either way, even up to this point, in my opinion, right now, I haven't been overly impressed with what I have seen from Scotty Miller on the field.
I will say the go route that he ran, I can't remember who it was against, but I mean he flat smoked.
Oh yeah, dude's got speed, and you can feel it.
But now if that's a better throw that's in the field of play, then that's potentially a touchdown.
Right.
But there was literally nothing he could do on that throw, but go out of bounds because of where it was located at. It was just the ball was too far. It was too far out of bounds. So that play, the over that he ran, that he got overshot by Heineke, that that wasn't necessarily his fault.
No.
But like I said, maybe he made a mistake on the interception. The other one that was almost an interception was a good pass. He should have, he had it he was in a position to actually catch the ball. And so he should have, he didn't. So that's, for sure I can look at and say that of the four passes that I'm thinking of off the top of my head, that one is the one that I'm like, that he absolutely
should have had that one.
100% should have had that one. It was all on him. It was a low pass, but it was supposed to try to protect your wide receiver from the DB behind him. So I'm totally fine with where the pass was. He should have brought that in, and he didn't. But a lot of the other throws were like he ran the right route. He was open. It just didn't work out. And then the interception was, who knows if it was anybody's fault, if it was just
well, yeah, I mean, there's
DB making a play, whatever.
Yeah, on Miller.
I mean, he's obviously getting a lot of looks. Arthur Smith don't really want to see what he looks like in his offense, and if he can give them some help. Now, me personally, I don't think I would be worried if they cut him. I really wouldn't, because I really like Xavier Malone, and I like Josh Ali, who has finally come on in the second preseason game. He was kind of off in the first one, but he missed the one catch in the second game, but then he started coming on real strong. And I think those two are going to be in some heavy competition with Scotty Miller. I mean, Scotty has a little bit more burn skills, but I think we can make it without him. Right. If it came down to it.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of with you on that one. Fred Butts tipped us $2.
Fred Butts,
very much appreciate.
Fred.
He says, Ritter looks
somebody's hungry.
That's right. He says Ritter looks like a franchise QB to me. I will say this: he looks like a guy who can confidently operate the offense. Now,
looks like he belongs.
Right, and so right now, that's all I need at this junction. Being he's only started 4 games, so. Like I reserve judgment, at least for myself, on like the status of a franchise QB until this season, till the end of the season. And just to let y'all know, I'd be doing that if we were talking about a highly drafted rookie. So I need to see him play, like really play and really operate in this. I liked what I saw on that first drive. I liked the way he moved. I liked his decision making, even with the tip drill at, with Scotty Miller. That was still, a good place to go with the ball. It wasn't a ridiculous decision. The conversion on that 3rd and 12 to Drake, he put that ball where only Drake could go get it. And that's what you want, So yeah, I am liking what I'm seeing. I'm still like reserved, holding back judgment in a sense of, as far as naming him a franchise QB. He did look like he belonged, and that right there is encouraging in and of itself.
I mean, you take a play like that, but also you look at this in slant to Kadero Hodge,
Right.
who got injured on the play. That was a beautiful pass. You look at he didn't look at it in his video, but you look at like the Mac Hollins catches. Those are easy throws, yes, but he's we saw this a little bit last year where some of the easy throws were he would miss on some of those more often than we would like him to.
Right.
But then he would come up with like a crazy play, like a crazy throw, and be like right on target, exactly where it needs to be, all that stuff. But it was the simple stuff that sometimes gave him a little bit of issues.
Mm-hmm.
But to see the simple pass, like a speed out or something like that out to the sideline, that it should be a super easy pass to make. He made those perfectly. So if you can make the easy passes and then do a good job of hitting on a majority of your harder passes, then you're probably going to have a high completion percentage, and you're going to be looking good.
Yep. Smitty Sports Machine is in the house. What's going on, Smitty?
What up, man? What up, Smitty?
Glad you decided to join us for a little bit tonight. Let's see. We got somebody checking in from Baltimore.
All right.
Zaylena Bag. This is the biggest Falcons fan in Baltimore in the building. All right. We are glad
sir.
you decided to join us tonight. King says Miller's safe. He's going to have certain plays made for him, maybe sweeps and big plays downfield. He won't be on the field much, maybe as, third down mostly, I feel. Like he could be that gadget guy, but I really feel like you could get that kind of stuff out of, Cordell or even the speed of Bijan in that aspect. But, I'm not the coach. You know what I'm saying?
I like the thought of having a guy like a Scotty Miller when you have a guy like a Drake London on one side, a Mac Hollins on the other side, maybe a Jonnu or Kyle Pitts, in line or even out wide or whatever. Because now you're talking Drake London is probably going to, depending on who's like the hot hand that day. Drake London is probably going to get your number one cornerback.
Yep.
Mac Hollins is probably going to get your two. You're maybe going to get like your big, if you have like a bigger coverage type safety, a guy who's good against tight ends, he's probably going to go against Pitts. And that's going to lead. And then maybe you got Bijan in the backfield. So you start pulling linebackers away from there. So now you're talking about going up against a third cornerback, maybe, or another safety, maybe in man-to-man situations with Scotty Miller. And unless those guys are like super quick and super, and fast enough, he's gonna, outrun just about anybody there. And he's probably quicker and able to get in and out of his breaks quicker than some of those other guys. So, like when you bring on everything else, and the spotlight is not on him because he's the elder statesman of the group, right? Then I think he's kind of that guy that can kind of get lost, and especially in a zone situation. I could absolutely see him being a guy that does like a little underneath crosser or a mesh, whether it's a traditional mesh or what we saw.
Or that variant.
That variant. You can see a mesh where, Pitts is coming across one way, Miller's going the other way. Everybody's focusing on Pitts. They lose Scotty Miller. He gets out in the open field, can really use that speed. That's what I'm excited for with a Scotty Miller in this offense with the playmakers that we have outside of him.
We'll see.
That's like, if things work the way that I think they're going to work, that's what makes me excited about that.
Toby, Jonathan brought up a point that I want to get your opinion on here. He talks about like, Miller getting like lost in the shuffle and then being the odd man out. Did you notice the attention that Bijan is already like
Oh, of
commanding?
course. Yeah, because when we got to remember that just because these guys are rookies doesn't mean that teams don't study their college film.
Mm-hmm.
And so when they come into the league, I mean, you heard Jonathan Gannon mentioned this about Kyle Pitts, that they had been watching this film leading up to week 1 against Philadelphia in 2021. And you can tell they had been watching it because they pretty much didn't allow Kyle Pitts to go crazy on them in that week because they kind of understood what he could do within the offense. So you're going to have teams already that are going to be gearing up for what Bijan can do. Now, unfortunately, or Bijan, I'm sorry, Mama. I'm sorry, Mama.
Oh yeah,
Bashawn
I
Robinson.
say
Bashawn Robinson.
you might have a
Don't,
phone
don't
call.
shoot me, Mama. Bashawn Robinson. Let me do this right now. You're going to have teams gearing up for Bashawn Robinson to try to stop him. Unfortunately, man, this guy is dynamic, and I don't think you're going to be able to stop him. I mean, he has vision out of this world, and you can tell he makes plays before he makes plays, if that makes sense. He already sees what he's going to do before he does it, and that makes him even more dangerous, especially as a rookie. It normally takes guys a couple of years to be able to see the game that way, that quickly, but he already sees everything he's getting ready to do, and he does it exactly how he sees it. And that right there, teams are going to have a hard time trying to stop him. This guy is a serious studier of the game, and he's ready to blow some people up.
I tell you this, his bursts Friday night looked even more special than it did on the
Yes,
college film that I watched.
yes,
That one play where it was I think it might have been like a little dump off to him, or a little handoff, and he goes to the left side. He ends up running into the back of the offensive lineman because he hits that hole so daggone fast that time.
yeah.
But and it's not just like the speed of like him hitting the hole. It was also like the big play, the first play, the patience that he had to be able to throttle his run down, give the dead leg, and then the jump cut all in one motion, and it was very encouraging to see that performance, and this was just in one drive.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what a full game from him looks like.
Yeah.
Oh shoot, Dre Murphy's being nice over here. Look at this. He says, "Thank you so much, pound for pound. I appreciate y'all to the freaking highest." He said, "I should have saved the question for the end of the show instead of the middle of the show." That's fine. You ask your questions. Don't worry about saving nothing.
Real quick, while we're on the Dre thing,
Yeah.
This just made me laugh. It's like, me personally, I'm keeping the hard name to pronounce, hard name to spell rookie running back over Carlos Washington Jr.
Oh, yeah, you're talking about Goodwin.
Goodwin Igwebuike is
sure.
But I would just say
that. Jonathan, that's close.
I would just say his name is Godwin Ikibuki.
Look, if he makes it to the roster, he's just gonna be GI, okay?
Yeah.
GI 40. Because but yeah, I like him as far as like if we're keeping one of the lower tier backs, Goodwin is definitely the one I'm going with because he gives you that return ability. As far as like kickoff returns, especially, I think you would probably have to like pry that out of CP84's cold dead hands. But if you're wanting the idea of, hey, I want to save CP from doing like kickoffs,
yes,
then Goodwin is a guy who I would, or Godwin is a guy who I would leave back there, because he seemed to have good burst and good vision doing that.
Yeah, I like him.
All right, let's see what else we got going on. We've already talked about Ritter's performance, so let's kind of get into preseason week 3. Not necessarily previewing the game because it is preseason, but it is the last preseason game. We will not be doing a live this week because me and Jonathan will actually be at the game. So, like I said, no live. I'm going camping this week, so we're going to try to get something out for the weekend, but that may not happen, just depending. Just give y'all a heads up there. But anyway, now, Toby, you're the head coach. You're Arthur Smith. Are you playing your starters this week? It seems
Yes.
like, yeah, but I say it seems like the reports that the Steelers are going to be playing a good bit of starters. So, who are you playing and why, so to speak, or how much of a series you giving? What's your game plan?
I want to see at least a quarter and a half. Um, I know teams don't really like to do 2 quarters leading up into the third quarter anymore because it's the third preseason game instead of, and they don't want to see their guys get hurt. But I would like to see a quarter and at least 2 series in the second quarter, and then you can take them out.
Right,
That's what I'm looking forward to seeing, and I believe you will at least get a quarter out of the starters. I can't see him sitting them until the season starts.
right. My only thought there is like today we did have. Now it does not sound like it's anything serious at all, but we did have, Drew Dahlman and who was it Matthews? No, it was
What?
Lindstrom,
Yes.
right? It was
Oh
Drew
no,
Dahlman.
that were out today.
Yeah, that were out
Yeah.
today. So if you have to go out there with Ryan Newsel and Vrabel as your starting offensive line against the Steelers starting defense, I don't know if I'm going to leave Ritter out there for very long.
Yeah.
But if you feel good about Lindstrom and Dahlman, then yes, I'm with you. I would like to see the ones go at least 2 drives, if not 3 drives, so I can see them build on, what they done. Like make
Right.
the player in-game adjustments like you were talking about earlier with Dez. Like I'm not necessarily looking for massive coaching adjustments, in game, but the players themselves adjusting to the game speed and the game environment. So
Yeah.
I'd like to see at least 3 drives from the starters. Jonathan, what are you feeling?
I mean, I would like that. I have a feeling that we're probably not going to see the offensive starters at the very, maybe you might see Matthews, Bergeron, and McGarry out there if the other two can't go and they have to do backups. But if that's the case, honestly, you're not going to see Ritter. Uh, and I don't think you're going to see Lindstrom or Dahlman. I'm going to go, could it happen? Sure, it could, and I could be wrong on this. But if you look at the way things generally work out in a regular season game, when they have their last practice of the week on Friday, if a guy doesn't practice on Friday, most of the time, sometimes it goes differently, but most of the time, he's not playing in the game.
Right.
So if we go by that rationale, the likely situation is that Lindstrom and Newsel, your best offensive lineman, and Dahlman, your
Yeah.
best offensive lineman and your starting center are not there. I'm not putting Ritter behind, especially if the Steelers are putting their first
Yeah. If they're
number
putting
one
their first
defense.
out there.
I'm not putting Ritter behind anything but what I consider to be my best line against number ones in a preseason game. Now, this regular season, totally different.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm kind of with Ricky here. He says I'd be heartbroken if we get an injury in the last preseason game.
Yeah, but I mean, at the end of the day, if he gets injured, would it suck? Absolutely, it would absolutely suck. But like, if you don't play some guys enough, and then you're like, oh, we made it through preseason, and then game one, the same guys that you were hoping not to get injured in the preseason, get injured in game one or even game two. It's like, what actual difference does that make? Getting guys up to speed, up to like feeling a little bit more of that game speed and being ready to go. Because if the ones don't play this week, it'll be between the last time they played and the next time they play, it's going to be 3 weeks.
Yeah. I mean, definitely like you. I mean, me and Toby talked about that ad nauseum a few years ago, or like Arthur's first year when he didn't play anybody, in the preseason, and then the first week out, against Philly, it looked like a hot mess. So there is that balance, right? Of, like MJ says I wouldn't risk injuries. I would mainly focus on who we are keeping for depth, especially at the D line, Huggins, Timmy Horn, cornerbacks, that kind of thing. But with the fact that you're still breaking in a new quarterback, and you're you're wanting your O line to be as gelling as possible. There's something to be said about starting your O line.
Well,
or,
I mean,
at least
say-
starting your
oh, go
players rather.
I'll say this: if Dahlman and Lindstrom play or are ready to play come Thursday night, if they are and they plan to play him, then play Ritter.
Right.
If those two guys are not there and you're down 2 of your 5 starting offensive linemen going against the ones in a preseason, again, if we're talking regular season, then you do what you got to do.
Well, yeah, of course.
In a preseason game, like if Ritter were to get injured because but it was behind the ones, right? If he's behind the ones against the Steelers ones and he somehow gets injured, ish happens, man.
Right.
Sometimes it does. But I'm not going to put what I think is going to be my what we believe, at least what we're being told by the owner, the feeling we're getting from the coaches is that they feel like Ritter could be the guy of the future, right?
Yeah.
Do you put him out there in a meaningless preseason game behind anything less than your number one offense? And that is my biggest thought there. If those guys can go, then I think Ritter plays. I want them to play because I want them to come out and be like, all right, last time we had 2 holding penalties, we had false start penalties, all this stuff, like 3 or 4 penalties on that offensive line in that one drive.
Right. They need to get their stuff cleaned up. Toby,
Exactly. So I would like that.
I mean, it's like I said before. I mean, I would like to see them play a quarter and 2 series into quarter 2, but it's nowadays coaches don't like to do that anymore with the way the rules have changed, and you only got 3 preseason games. It's a good chance we're not going to see Ritter, and we're going to see Heineke start probably 2 quarters and Woodside start 2 quarters. Because last year we remember Desmond Ritter played the whole 3rd game.
Right.
So now that he's the starter, there's a chance that they may not play any starters, especially now with hearing the news that Dahlman looks like he's been dealing with some nagging injuries so far. And I hope that doesn't turn into something that's lingering throughout the whole season with him. But, and, hearing that news about a couple of these guys that may not be playing on the offensive line, you probably will not have Desmond Ritter out there. And it will probably be a Heineke and Woodside show most of the game, if not all of it. I mean, the Steelers got to do what they got to do. You know what I'm saying?
No.
And we got to do what we got to do. And it's not like Ritter them don't know the offense. They know the offense well, especially since he played in it for 3 whole preseason games and then 4 whole regular season games at the end. So, yeah, I'm good with them not doing it. I would like to see, because you know who I really want to see? Bijan Robinson.
Right.
But anyway, I would rather see them on week 1 than now we don't have
I think I'm with Jonathan and, with you, is like, if you can have the full strength starting O-line, then give me Ritter for a couple drives, like the full gamut. Especially because they didn't play at all in the first preseason game.
Yep.
So far, what you've had is 1 drive.
Yeah.
Out of the starters. Like now, Bergeron played a little bit on the 2nd drive. And if nothing else, I'd like to see Bergeron out there, playing. So if everybody is healthy enough to play, I would like to see at least 2 drives, if not 3 drives. Now, if that takes first quarter into second quarter, then so be it. But I'd like to see the 2 to 3 drives out of the starting offense and 2 to 3 drives out of the starting defense. But I think the good portion of the game is going to be looking at depth, such as guys like Chris is bringing up. I'll be keeping a close eye on Abernathy because I believe the Falcons could carry 5 safeties. They very well could, especially with the way Helms has been playing.
Yeah.
You cannot take a chance by trying to stash Helms on the practice squad.
Oh no, he gone. Yeah.
I don't think that I don't think they would take that risk at all, honestly.
No.
So, with that being said, obviously you got Richie and Jesse. Then,
Yeah.
like you're looking at, Jalen Abernathy and Chapman and Helms.
I wanted to show this real quick because I thought it was
Okay.
funny as hell.
Oh yeah.
New Falcons QB Taylor Heineke said last week it's challenging to learn the team's long play calls. And then Arthur Smith said he liked the fact that he's complaining. It's our job to push Taylor out of his comfort zone. Taylor's a smart guy, regardless of how he looks.
You can definitely tell that Arthur is having a lot more fun this year.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think he's finally, whether it's going to result like in winning, what have you, I think this is the first year that he's finally felt like he's been able to construct a team.
Yeah.
Him and Terry together, able to go out and get guys that they feel like are going to make an impact.
Yeah.
And I feel like it almost seems like they feel like this is their first year, so to speak. Even though this is year 3 of their 3-year plan, I think they feel like this is year 1 for them.
Yeah.
First year -1, last year, year 0. We're finally at year 1.
Yep.
So
Yeah, I think this is, you got to keep into account now. Arthur Smith feels like he can run his offense, right? And I talked about this before. If you notice in that first drive, they were doing a lot of converting from first down to first down, from second down to first down. And this is an Arthur Smith offense. You want to stay out of them third downs as much as possible. You couldn't really do that last year because you had Mariota running a limited offense with only 3 passing concepts, right?
right.
You ran the ball a lot. And what I like about this year is that even though teams might start gearing up against the run, you have a team now that can focus on their pass sets where they don't have to be as perfect, because when you got a guy like Bijan Robinson behind you, you don't have to be as perfect with your run blocking, because you saw what Bijan did, and they didn't really block open hole that much for Bijan. He was able to make that hole happen. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And so all he needs is a little bit. So I like the fact that Arthur has his offense now. He can run his offense the way that he's ran it when he was in Tennessee, where he couldn't do that the 2 years previous, right?
Right.
So now he can run that aggressive style offense the way that he wants to, and he has the guys and the weapons to be able to do it and make it look good and start scoring a lot of points, which he's used to. One of the reasons why we brought him here, red zone offense.
And here's the deal, really, in all in all reality. Like Nate Tice highlighted it really well. In those like first three or 4 plays, they had the same personnel and had 3 or 4 different looks out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Which, and the group that he highlighted was a 3 tight end package. It was Pitts, it was Pruitt, and it was Smith. Like with those 3 guys on the field, you could do a lot of different things.
Mm-hmm.
Because now, if you compare it to the Tennessee days, Arthur Smith had A.J. Brown, Corey Davis. Okay, let's transpose that. Now he has Drake London, Kyle Pitts. 2 big, fast, wide, receivers. Now he can do some different things with Pitts than he did with, Davis and Brown, but it's still the same concept. Now, you look at Michael Pruitt and Janu Smith. Well, that's Janu Smith and Anthony Ferguson.
Mm-hmm.
And so now, then you take Derrick Henry and you split him into 2, which you actually get better from, because as much as we love Henry, the man had stone for hands. Like, he's not a very good pass catcher out of the backfield. But now you have Tyler Algier and Bijan Robinson. Both give you the running ability that Henry gave you, plus both of them give you an upgraded version of the passing ability. or pass catching ability coming out of the backfield.
Yeah.
I actually think that you might see a more explosive version of what you saw in 20 in Tennessee. So
Yeah.
I'm really excited to see how it's going to unfold this year. But yeah. So as far as like the what we're expecting out of the Steelers game, I'm really looking for who separates themselves in that D line, like the back end D line, Huggins,
Yeah.
London. Is it Timmy Horn?
Yeah.
Who makes a push there? Who makes a push on the last part of the wide receivers? Is it like Ali? Is it Xavier Malone? Like, do those guys continue to separate themselves?
Mm-hmm.
King was asking about Jeff Okuda. So far, we haven't heard any reports. He has not practiced. I'm probably looking maybe week 3 or so.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
Because since he has not been practicing, now if we get word that he's practicing, that's about the only thing that's going to indicate that he might be ready week 1.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
like Ricky says, I think Okuda will be there for week 1. That's the longer he stays out of practice, the more that looks tenuous at best.
Yeah, and we'll see. I don't know. I know they're going to have like after this game, we're going to have essentially like 2.5 weeks until opening day.
Right.
And then so I don't. I know they got some scheduled practices for Saturday, Sunday, and then they may take some time off take the week off, give their guys a chance to rest up for a week or whatever, come back the following week in preparation for opening week.
Right.
So, we probably won't know any real status of Jeff Okuda until at least say Tuesday, not next Tuesday, but so like 2 weeks from today. That's when I think if we're gonna hear something about him practice, getting back out there, even if he's just doing some like limited practice, one-on-one with the doing like the position drills, but maybe not team drills. If we start hearing that, then yeah, maybe week 2, maybe week 3 at the outside, and then yeah, I think week 2 or 3 is probably what I'm thinking.
Right. All right. So moving right along, on Saturday we had our Falcons content creator meetup,
Yes, we did.
where we had about, I think it was like 7 or 8 different creators. You had us, the 3 of us were there. You had Twisted Torch. You had Ronnie representing the New Millennium Falcon podcast. You had John Yates and Mike from Out of Your Falcon Mind. You had Uncle Steve from Uncle Steve's Lounge, Smitty from Smitty Sports Machine, and I think and Big Low Country.
Don't forget Alberto.
Yeah, and Roberto. That's right.
Roberto,
with
yeah.
Smitty. Yep.
Sorry.
That's 95 North, who also is
Yeah.
on with Smitty as well.
Yeah.
And that was a really good time. We had about, good probably 10, 20 fans, or however you want to call it, fans, followers, whatever, show up. And we had a really good time, enough to where we'll probably do it again. So I'm not exactly sure when, but just wanted to shout out for anybody who did show up and say hello. We were glad that glad y'all did. Padre was there. He says, "What's good, gentlemen?"
Hey, it was.
Did y'all see the breakdown? We did. We talked about that earlier. But Padre was there, and a couple other folks that we conversed with on Twitter and here on the channel. So we appreciate everybody who showed up. That was a good time, and I just wanted to take a minute to shout that out because that was a lot of fun.
Yes, it was. It was a blast.
Yeah. So, all right, on to the Q&A section of the show. Sip Thought says, how many points we win by? He's already calling a win. He said, how many points we win by week 1? He says, I say 9.5. I think right now the spread is we're favored by 3, which just means that
it's a
home field
it's a
advantage,
pick 'em.
right?
It's a pick 'em, right?
Right. as from what I have seen from Carolina, their O-line looks a little shaky. So I feel pretty good about where we're at as long as our full strength O-line is there in week one. But
the thing I like about going against the Panthers is like a guy like a Bryce Young. He's not a guy that I see as one of the biggest problems we have with Jameis Winston, and that guy always seems to play pretty well against us for the most part. And when he does, at least 3 or 4 times in those games, we'll have somebody that will grab him, and he's big enough and strong enough to where he can get out of that. He can do all those things. Bryce Young ain't doing that against just about anybody on this defensive line. Maybe I could see him doing something against somebody like Ebiketie or Malone.
Maybe
maybe, but like Bud Dupree's not gonna. That's not gonna happen. Calais Campbell for sure. It ain't happening with. But like I said, at the end of the day, that offensive line's looking real shaky. Their offensive weapons are not like super scary, anyways. If like where Bryce Young is going to have to live, at least early on, at least what it appears in preseason, is he's going to have to live on like short, maybe intermediate. Like he's going to have to be getting that ball out quick. And if we know that and that comes true, we're going to clamp down. He's not going to be able to get much downfield because if he holds it for anything downfield, he's probably going to get killed.
Yeah. So points. How many points? That was the question. You went on a long diatribe there about Bryce Young. How many points do you think we're going to win by, John?
35.
There you go.
No,
that's a lot of points to win by.
I say we can win that game by 10 points.
All right. Toby, did you already?
Yeah, that's about the place I was thinking too. I'm in agreement with 9.5, 10 points. I think because it's a rivalry.
Yep. MJ says, asks, do you think we make any trades before the start of the season? If we do, it might be for O-line depth or maybe linebacker depth, but there's nothing that is jumping out at me like, oh man, we really need to try to go get that guy or that position.
We'll see what happens when the cut downs happen. Like
right.
some guys get cut because of a numbers game, not necessarily because they want to. There's going to be guys on our team that we're probably going to cut that we don't really want to get rid of.
Right.
But so we'll see what guys fall off the tree, and see if anybody there's
see who shakes loose. Toby, you think we make any moves?
If anybody gets moved, the only guy I can see get moved possibly would be CP84. If that's not happening, I don't see anybody getting moved. I don't.
All right. The question on everybody's mind: are you back full time, Toby?
Yes.
Good deal. Good deal. That is
no pressure. No pressure.
None. All the pressure.
Too late for that now.
Yep. Chris says after rewatching the game, I have to give Ritter a 9 on that tackle. Your thoughts? You know what? He was a willing tackler on that interception. So I'm going to I'll go with you on a 9. Anytime that a quarterback is willing to stick his face in there and try to bring a guy down, then I'm with it.
I mean, I'd give him at least a 9, maybe even as high as a 10 because he is a quarterback, but I mean, he like square hit him in the hip. It wasn't like he just caught him by a shoestring.
Right.
It wasn't, let me just try to push you out of bounds or something like that. Man dove in there, shoulder first, going after that hip, and not just hitting him in the hip, knocking him out. He hit him in the hip and like actually knocked him down. So like it was a really good tackle for a QB.
Toby, what was your thoughts on the tackle?
You talking about out there the tip?
Yeah, after the tip, the interception.
I want to be honest. I really wasn't paying attention to that tackle because I was hoping they scored a touchdown. So my mind was blocking it out.
Oh, there it is. Okay. I made it shut it off. Dang.
Yeah, I blocked that tackle out because I was like, dude, we should have scored. But anyway, So that's what happened to me on that one, guys. I'm sorry.
No,
I
hey
just
man,
yeah, I
look,
just tuned it out.
it was a same deal. Like if it wasn't for somebody making a comment on it, I went back and like I was like, all right, I'm gonna pay attention to this on my read through or my watch through again because somebody had commented on his tackle. So yeah, I think he did good there.
But great paying attention to details to everyone that did watch that tackle.
There
That
it is.
was
Yep.
that's what I call that.
Sometimes like the on the initial live watch through. See, that's why I gotta have things like the YouTube recordings and the NFL pluses because sometimes there's just my mind will just get locked on to things
I
that
went
shouldn't.
back and watched that game and I still blocked it out.
Huh,
So
man,
that's
I said,
just
nope,
gonna tell you.
not gonna do
Cause
it.
I'm sitting there like the same thought I had when we were watching it live, and I went back to watch it again after that to see, what else I could scope out. And that's how I was looking at the first down conversion and stuff. When they didn't score, man, I just like whatever else happened after that, when that tip happened, man, I was like, wow, man, we actually did not score down there. But anyway.
Yeah. Kim Folk says, so two preseason end games. What are our draft grades? How are you drafting? How are you grading our rookies? I think Zach Harris has looked really well. He's impressed me. Obviously, Bijan Robinson, finally got to see him in game speed. He's looked good. Um, who else has gotten in there? Bergeron.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, I like him. Yeah.
yeah, he looked real good
Yeah.
last week. So if those guys hit and pan out, that's 3 starters.
Yeah.
That's an A draft to me. If you can come away with 2 or 3 starters, that's a win. And like Chris is saying here, he's like 2 starters, 3 rotational players, and a backup. I'd call it a superb draft.
Yeah.
Like that's and who can forget about Hitman Helms?
Yes, sir.
That's a 7th rounder that you potentially hit on, especially if he can continue to progress. Like, no, I think this draft so far through the preseason has definitely gotten an A for me. Toby?
Oh man, this is a tough one, man. But I mean, the guys have been the rookies. I think you finally got a rookie class that you can actually plug in there, and you're going to get more contributors than what you've gotten in the first 2 drafts that you drafted. So I would have to say I'm gonna give it an A. I am early projections is an A for me because so far the guys you plugged in, they've been playing pretty well. Now Clark Phillips, I would like to, see a little bit more because that's a guy that I felt like could have been a potential first rounder if his measurables had
Or
have
a little
been
better.
up to
Yeah.
par. Yeah. So I want to see a little bit more from him because I do believe he can be a great corner in this league. So other than that, yeah, I would have to say A for early projection.
Jonathan?
Early. I mean, when I look at it, I look at Bijan. That immediately is an A pick. Bergeron is like an A minus because we'll see how he's looked good so far. We'll see if that continues. Harrison has been a good B for me. He's looked good, but he's looked good. Against some of the twos,
Right.
the 2s and 3s. So I don't, I don't necessarily expect him to explode in the regular season. Maybe he proved me wrong, but I don't I wasn't expecting that, even right after the draft. So for him, like I said, I'd give him a B on that one. But like Clark Phillips has looked good. He got injured, but he came back in this game and looked good. He was, had a couple, at least one catch I know for sure on him. But he was sticky even then. Made some good plays later on. Helms has looked really good. Gwynn has looked, he's looked good, but he hasn't looked like spectacular or anything.
Yeah, he hasn't like stood out, but I think he's solid, and we'll see, if he's one of the guys that makes it on the roster or not. All right, Tony Wright, I think he's calling me out. He says, JR, a couple days ago, Arthur Smith stated that black backup right tackle Tyler Vrabel has played well. I agree. Your thoughts? He's played okay. Like he ain't been Mayfield. So right now, if you said, "Hey, dude, you got to keep Jalen Mayfield or Tyler Vrabel, I'm keeping Tyler Vrabel. So, if that's a win, right? So, yeah. Anyway, so yeah, that's a definite a win in my book. So now, just can he keep building on it, and can he work his way up some?
Him and Mayfield though on that one sack were just it was bad.
They look rough. But that's all right. Hey, no hate there. All right, here's a burning question. I think we're going to start to wind the show down. Mayfield, Carr, or Young, who throws more picks? I'm gonna go with Baker Mayfield because I think he's going to try to play hero ball too much down there in Tampa, and I think he's going to throw more picks in the amount of time. I think he gets benched first. I don't think Carr or Young get benched.
Well, yes,
so I'm going to say Mayfield.
Like I was going to say Carr because I think Young is less of a gunslinger mentality, whereas Carr definitely can have that. And I think that is with the mentality of their offense. I think he's got a good chance to throw quite a few picks. Whereas
Right.
Mayfield, I think if Mayfield were to start the entire season, I probably would pick Mayfield. But if we're going based off the entire season, I think it would be Carr.
Gotcha. Toby, who do you think?
I'm going Young.
Going
the
Young.
reason why I'm going Young because knowing what he like to do in college, where he makes a lot of miraculous plays and he gets out of sacks some kind of way and still able to make throws down the field. I don't think he's going to have the weapons to be where he think they're going to be when he's making those plays. And he's going to find out very fast the defenses are actually going to be in those spots where he thinks he's going to be able to miraculously get out of sacks and throw it down the field. So I'm going Young.
There you go. Cool. Well, good deal. Yeah, and it's going to be a toss-up, but I agree with Nick down here. He says the NFC is wide open. I think so, and I think we have a real good chance to win the division as it stands right now. Millie was asking, do we still have Justin Schaefer? We do. He's been playing third. He's been playing third string, I think.
Do
we? Do we? All right, folks. I think Smitty Sports Machine just started up, so if some of y'all want to head that way, we appreciate y'all hanging out with us tonight. As always, y'all can follow me on Twitter. I'm at Grimm1128, GRIMM1128. Jonathan?
At Jonathan M. Holder. Come by, say hi.
Toby?
At Toby D 1991.
That's right. Keep your eye on the channel. Hopefully we'll have something out for this weekend, but if not, we will be back live next Tuesday to talk about the last preseason game, and we're going to try to get a roundtable type situation with some creators before the start of the season. So just keep your eye locked on the channel.
When are final cuts due? Is it over the weekend?
No, I know it's all
Saturday,
one day.
I think, usually between Friday and Saturday.
Right. So I think it's it's all going to be on one day this year. So you might get a short or something like that, or a truck thought or whatnot. Somebody Dre Murphy's saying the 29th is when that.
So next Tuesday. So we'll be probably talking about that too.
Oh yeah. Yep. If it's on that, cuts. Yeah, we'll be talking about that. All right, folks. We appreciate y'all. And as always, Falcons fans, rise up.
Rise up.
Rise up.